Alright, here's Alex again from Blacksheep IT Consulting, and this time we install us some Siebel on our brand new Windows Server 2025 machine, complete with a database running on Podman as a container. So a container is not yet up, but it's there. The machine has just been restarted. So as you have seen in the previous demos, we have installed Podman on Windows, subsystem for Linux, WSL, and we have pulled and run a container for Oracle Database 23 AI Free Edition. So a bit of a challenge to get Siebel running on that tiny little 23 AI free, but we want 23 AI, Siebel on 23 AI, we want to enjoy this. And I have downloaded the Siebel 25.12 installers in lieu of the 26.1, which aren't available at the time of recording, but we'll do an update later to 26. And just showing 25.12 is just a few weeks apart from 26.1, of course. And I'll need the following files, 2 and 3 of 13. So these are, let's check it out. I should have the first file. So if you get that first file in your pack, then you have the media list. And in that media list, it tells you which file is which. It's also in the release notes, also printed there. But for a fresh installation of Siebel, you need 2, 3, and 4. Easy to remember. First one is the contents, and it tells you need the next 3 files. That is if you want to install language packs, which I do. So non-ENU is for the non-ENU languages. Siebel binaries includes ENU, of course. And the repository, that's the master repository that you need for a fresh installation, for a fresh database installation, that is. If you hook up to an existing Siebel database, you just need the first 2, or maybe just the second one, because it's just ENU for you. And so 2, 3, and 4 it is, and I'll just move those to my temp install folder so I can extract them. And extracting, well, you just make sure you select all the files, then use 7-zip. Extract here, that's the easiest way. So it ensures that everything goes in the same folder path and folder location. So as you can see, the disk1 folder is already being built. And that would take a while. I'll pause the video recording until that is complete. So we have a disk1 folder, and of course we also check that we have our key store. So I've used a script to create a self-signed certificate that is a root certificate, and I've also created a key store file, Siebel keystore.jks, which has well, both the key and is also serving as the trust store. Of course, it's out of scope of this video how to create these JKS files. You should contact your security team if in doubt. So we're ready to go to disk 1, install, and of course, as on Windows, you do the right click, run as administrator, and here we go. There comes the installer. So as discussed in the presentation, if you have an existing home that you want to update, select it here. There's nothing on this machine, so we have to provide the new home folder. So just to make sure I have no typos or whatsoever, I go to the C drive. I've already have a Siebel folder, and I want the SES installation, the Siebel Enterprise Server, in this folder. Now next comes the language selection. You see how whatever you select first drives the next pages, and I'll choose additional language packs, German and French. Go next, and here Siebel Enterprise Components, that's what we want. That's the unified folder structure, which can serve anything from a Siebel server, a gateway, or an application interface, or even as a sidecar for Kafka, you have to do this, or an enterprise cache server. So whenever you need enterprise components, that's your choice. You only need to install the new database repository at least on one machine in your enterprise, but of course for convenience you can install it anywhere. That's number 4, zip file number 4, the content. And refrain from installing web client Siebel tools into the same folder. It kind of messes up your folder structure. But you can of course keep dischecked the enterprise container, that is the internal Tomcat configuration, or the application interface container, that's the external Tomcat configuration. So these pages will guide us through. So let's dismiss this. We are doing a brand new installation. We don't have any hardware migration. Okay, so no. And this brings us to the configuration page for the container ports. So that is the internal first. I'll go with the 9011 pattern, 9012, 9013. I just out of habit for internal containers on the same machine, and the external containers I leave with these default ports. Of course, with port numbers, you know the drill. You have to make sure these port numbers are not already used by some other software on the same machine. All right, click Next, and there's your primordial username. Make sure, don't make that mistake, to record that password if it's not super easy, like I use the same as username. If that's maybe too risky for you, the risk is low because you need that username one time or 2 times maximum when you bootstrap your enterprise, when you log in for the Siebel Management Console for the first time after a fresh installation, to bootstrap the enterprise, register the gateway, and then create the security profile for the gateway, and then you no longer need this. But the password will be encrypted in a text file. You cannot recover the password if you forget it. And I leave the context, that is the part that says Siebel in the URL, I leave it as Siebel, and we click Next, and now it's key store time. So we go to the folder where I have the key stores, it's in Downloads. So make sure if you have 2 different files, of course make sure to select the correct files. I just have 1. And the password for both files, by the way, must be the same password, because you can enter 2 files, but only 1 password here. So the files will be copied, of course, and the passwords will make it into the Tomcat configuration file, the server XML. Okay, do we want to start the services? So the application containers will be started. I doubt they start because they are factory settings in regards to memory, etc. But let's give it a try. And we are ready, so I can save the response file. I'll do that in the installation folder. Always good to save the file either for archive purposes, documentation, or if you want to use it, of course, for an unattended install on another machine or on the same machine, but that's unlikely. Okay, I hit install, and off the installer goes to lay down the unified folder structure with the Siebel binaries as of 25.12. So these binaries will include the latest master repository, the number 4 zip file that we extracted, which will be super important when it comes to installing the 2512 database with the 2512 repository. You get the idea. And it will also have, of course, the third-party binaries, Zookeepers, Tomcats, well, the structure that you know, and the neo files, also part of the binaries. So everything you need. And I'll pause the recording until this installer finishes its job. Alrighty, so the installer completed successfully, so it claims, and it says starting web server, which refers to the Tomcat. And let's, well, close this, there's nothing else to do. Let's check out the services on that machine. And we have us, we have us 2 Tomcat servers, and not unexpectedly, they are not started. The memory settings are factory settings and they're way, way, way too low. So we have to, first thing, actually, we have to modify these Tomcats to bring them up to speed or memory. So you go about and do one by one. I personally prefer my Tomcats manual, and then copy that path, open a PowerShell would do probably. Let's do administrator to be on the safe side. But you have to edit this command line because you have to choose ES instead of RS and then Tomcat 10W. And that brings you to this lovely pop-up where you go to Java, and here you see the factory settings. Don't be modest. 4 GB is what Oracle recommends at least. So of course for a simple demo environment would be less. Less would be okay, like 2 GB would equally work, but definitely 256 meg is too little for a Siebel Tomcat. There's too much to do. Okay, also, well, the Java virtual machine should be okay, that path. But let's click apply and okay, and now we should actually get a startup on this Tomcat. Yeah, now it's running. And we do the same for the external Tomcat. So set that to manual, copy the path, apply that, and get into the dialog. If you be on Linux, actually, you should have settings in the setenv.sh file on the Tomcat folder if you're looking for those. Oops, sorry for that. And if you're on Windows and you update your Siebel to a higher version, go in before the update and check, even if you, especially if you have special Java options here, sometimes you do, and special memory settings, record those. Make sure those are recorded in documentation so you can reset them in case your update resets them to factory setting, which actually happens quite often. Okay, we start this one. And now it says it should be, so the Siebel Enterprise Component Installer has successfully installed the components, and the 2 Tomcats that we chose, they are now running and ready for action. So for good measure, let's check the SES folder, and of course, wouldn't expect it any other way. Here we go with the installation. So that's the binary folders ready to go and ready to deploy. Siebel 25.2 and higher ships with an Oracle DB client in this folder. So this is the there's the ODBC driver and other files. And if you're not using TNS admin, so we are using the TNS admin environment variable. Let me briefly check that. Yes, so we have copied the TNS names and other files to this folder, and we point to it by using TNS admin. You could still use TNS admin and point to another folder, for example, this one. the network admin folder right here. As you can notice, it's empty, spare the sample folder. So normally you would copy your TNS name stuff here for Oracle, because that's the natural place. But if you have multiple things that look for Oracle database on the machine, which is very likely, the TNS_admin environment variable saves the day. So I'm fine, hopefully, I will notice, with this folder, which carries my TNS name. So that's the Oracle database connection, which is super important. And let's also check the, while we're at it, check the path, because that path should actually point to the Oracle DB client, where, for example, you have tools like SQL Plus. And let's double check that. So run a command prompt, and we do aware SQL Plus, and that resolves to this folder. So now if I run SQL Plus, I can enter a username and connect to a database. So let's give it a try. Actually, let me cancel that. Yes, so we have breakthrough. We're using the SQL Plus from the Siebel server installation folder, and we are getting through to our database, running of course as a container, but exposing the port and exposing all the necessary bits to allow this one here. So that gets us ready to, well, either use this database as a real Siebel database, but that is currently not a Siebel database. So in the next, but you can now pretend you have a copy of a Siebel database of yours here, either in the correct version, or if not, you have to run post-install database update. But in our demonstration videos, we actually presume this is a really empty database and you want to install a fresh Siebel database with modern Siebel utilities. And that is coming up in the next demonstration. So thank you very much for now, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.